Commander Alex Hartwell stood frozen on the bridge of the EDS Guardian. His eyes were fixed on the main screen. A massive ship, unlike anything humans had ever built, moved slowly into Earth orbit. "Status report," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "The object is 3 kilometers long, sir," replied Lieutenant Kate Daniels. "No weapons detected, but energy readings are off the charts." The year was 2157. Humanity had just started to expand beyond Earth. There were small colonies on Mars and a research station on Europa. People thought space was theirs to explore. They were wrong. The giant ship sent a message to all Earth communication systems at once. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Hegemony, a group of 17 different species who ruled the galaxy. They had been watching Earth for decades. Within hours, Admiral Eleanor Reeves was on a transport to Washington. The president had called an emergency meeting. "This changes everything," said President Garrett Mason. His face looked pale and tired. "They want to meet us in person. Today." The meeting happened at the United Nations building in New York. High Executive HFY of the Hegemony was tall and thin with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. When he spoke, his words were translated by a small floating device. "Earth is now under the protection of the Galactic Hegemony," said HFY. "This is a great honor. Many worlds wait centuries for such recognition." Admiral Reeves didn't like his tone. It wasn't a negotiation. It was a list of demands. As a protectorate, Earth will stop all expansion beyond Mars. You will provide resources and workers to hegemony projects. In return, we will share some technology and ensure no other species attacks you. That night, Dr. Noah Collins worked in his office at Stanford University. As Earth's top expert in alien languages, he had been given recordings of the hegemony speech to study. "Something's not right," he muttered to himself. The translation matrix had small errors, tiny shifts in meaning that didn't seem accidental. Words like protection that could also mean control. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Olivia Blackwood sat in a dark room at Military Intelligence Headquarters. Her team had been scanning the alien ships nonstop. "These energy readings don't match their story," she told her supervisor. "They say their ships are mainly for transport and science, but these look like weapon signatures to me." The hegemony gave Earth 3 days to sign the Protectorate Agreement. President Mason called a private meeting with his most trusted advisors. "We can't fight them," said the Secretary of Defense. "Their technology is hundreds of years ahead of ours. But we can't just surrender," argued Admiral Reeves. "These terms will make us slaves in all but name." The president looked out the window at the night sky, where alien ships now moved among the stars that humans had dreamed of reaching. "We'll sign," he said finally. "We have to. But at the same time, I'm authorizing Operation Defiance." Operation Defiance would be the most secret program in human history. Hidden bases would study alien technology. Soldiers would train in secret. Earth would appear to submit while actually preparing to fight back. 3 days later, President Mason signed the Protectorate Agreement in a public ceremony. HFY placed all 4 of his hands on a glowing orb, officially bringing Earth under hegemony rule. As cameras flashed and the world watched, Admiral Reeves received a coded message on her secure device. Operation Defiance was now active. Humanity had just lost its freedom, but it had not given up. The fight had only just begun. 3 years passed since the alien ships first appeared above Earth. Life had changed. Hegemony technology made trains faster, cleaned some of the pollution, and cured a few diseases. But there was a price. More and more volunteers were sent to work on distant planets. Rare minerals were taken from Earth in huge amounts. Captain John Russell stood on the bridge of the EDS Dauntless. It was one of the few Earth ships allowed to travel between stars, always with hegemony permission and supervision. "Captain, we're approaching Proxima Centauri," said his pilot, Lieutenant Frank Miller. "Good," Russell replied. "Stay on the approved course." But he had other plans. When the hegemony observer left the bridge for a meal, Russell nodded to his science officer. Dr. Reed, do you detect anything unusual? Dr. Samantha Reed smiled slightly. Actually, sir, I'm picking up a distress signal off our planned route. Regulations say we must investigate. It was a lie, but a useful one. The signal was really a coded message from the Resistance. The Dauntless changed course. Hours later, they reached a small moon that wasn't on any official maps. The surface was cratered and burned. Signs of a battle. Life signs detected, said Dr. Reed. Several dozen individuals in a cave system. Russell led a team down to the surface. In the caves, they found survivors, but not humans. These aliens had purple skin and 4 eyes. They looked half-starved. You are not hegemony, said one who could speak broken English. We are Nix Terry. Hegemony told Galaxy we are extinct. The alien leader, who called himself Krell, told them a terrible story. The hegemony wasn't a peaceful coalition. It was an empire that found developing worlds, pretended to protect them, then harvested them once they reached a certain technology level. They take worlds for resources, take people for experiments, take everything. Krell said, our world fought back. This is what remains of our entire species. Russell recorded everything. This was the proof they needed. Back on Earth, engineer Kelly Martinez worked in a hegemony technology facility in Arizona. For months, she had been secretly copying alien tech designs. Today she was going to steal the biggest prize yet, the plans for hegemony faster than light drives. As she downloaded the files to a hidden device, an alarm sounded. She had been discovered. Human female, stop immediately, a mechanical voice said. Hegemony security drones floated toward her. Martinez ran for the exit, but it sealed shut. She was trapped. Then a side door she'd never noticed before slid open. A tall alien with gray skin and a single red eye motioned to her. Quickly, it said in accented English, this way. Confused but desperate, Martinez followed. They raced through narrow maintenance corridors until they reached a small ship hidden behind the facility. Who are you? Martinez asked as they lifted off. I am Vexlor, the alien replied. Like you, I fight against hegemony. I am from Stellar Accord, many species who resist in secret. Martinez was shocked. There are other aliens fighting them. Many, but scattered, afraid. Humans are different. You resist openly, organize quickly. This is why I was sent to find you. Meanwhile, the Dauntless rushed back toward Earth, carrying the Nix Terry survivors and their shocking testimony. Captain Russell knew they would be in danger the moment they entered Earth space. The hegemony monitored everything. We'll need to go dark, he told his crew. Remove all tracking devices. Dr. Reed, can you mask our engine signature? Already done, Captain, she replied. When they reached Earth, they didn't dock at the official spaceport. Instead, they landed at a hidden facility in the Canadian wilderness. Admiral Reeves was waiting. Her face was grim as she watched the Nix Terry survivors shuffle off the ship. So it's true, she said. Everything we suspected. Russell nodded. They don't want partners, Admiral. They want cattle. Just then, a message came through on a secure channel. Kelly Martinez had made contact with the Stellar Accord. The core of humanity's rebellion was forming. The real fight was about to begin. 8 months later, Operation Defiance had grown larger than anyone expected. Deep under the Nevada desert, humans worked side by side with aliens from the Stellar Accord. The old military base had been abandoned for decades. Now it hummed with activity. Major Benjamin Hayes watched as his soldiers practiced fighting tactics. They trained with weapons that mixed human and alien technology. Remember, each alien species has different weak points, he told them. The hegemony forces have tough skin, but their joints are vulnerable. Captain Grace Sullivan stood beside him. She had created a new fighting method that used human creativity with knowledge of alien bodies. Her fighters moved in ways the hegemony had never seen before. "They think we're predictable," she said to Hayes. "That will be their mistake." In orbit above Earth, Admiral Reeves attended a meeting with hegemony officials. She smiled and agreed with everything they said. All the while, her ships were being secretly upgraded. The upgrades came from Dr. William Franklin's work. He had studied hegemony shield technology and found a flaw. If human weapons hit at exactly the right frequency, they could break through the alien shields. "It's not perfect," Franklin told Admiral Reeves later in a secure room, "but it gives us a fighting chance." But not everything went well for the resistance. In Siberia, hegemony enforcers found a hidden lab. They captured several scientists, including Dr. Lisa Wright. She knew more about alien engines than any other human. The hegemony made an example of her. They broadcast her execution to all of Earth. They called it punishment for stealing technology. The plan backfired. People who had accepted hegemony rule now questioned it. Videos of the execution were shared with messages like, "This is who really controls us," and "Remember Lisa Wright." President Mason had seen enough. In a worldwide broadcast, he officially resigned his position. "I cannot continue to lead while our people are treated this way," he said. The hegemony promised partnership. They delivered oppression. The speech caused an uproar. Hegemony ships moved closer to Earth. They demanded a new president be appointed immediately. Meanwhile, the resistance activated sleeper cells throughout the solar system. On Mars, workers sabotaged hegemony mining operations. On Europa, scientists corrupted research data. On the Moon, communication relays were reprogrammed to send secret messages. Admiral Reeves met with Russell, Martinez, and other resistance leaders in an underwater base beneath the Pacific Ocean. "We're almost ready," she said. "But I fear the hegemony is getting suspicious. We may need to act sooner than planned." Kelly Martinez showed them the engine designs she had stolen. With help from Vexilor and other Stellar Accord engineers, they had built prototype ships faster than anything Earth had made before. "They can outrun hegemony patrol vessels," she explained, "but not their main battleships." Dr. Reed had been studying the Nix-Terry survivors' genetic material. "Their DNA shows signs of hegemony experiments," she reported. They weren't just conquered. They were being harvested for biological materials. As they talked, sensors detected more hegemony ships entering the solar system. They were positioning themselves around Earth in attack formation. "They're not waiting anymore," said Russell. "They're preparing to take direct control." Admiral Reeves made her decision. She sent a coded message to all resistance cells. Prometheus protocol activated. Captain Russell received the message on the Dauntless, now hidden in an asteroid field near Jupiter. He gathered his crew on the bridge. "We all knew this day would come," he told them. "It's time to light the match. Prepare for battle stations." The crew cheered. After 3 years of hiding and planning, humanity was finally going to fight back. The Prometheus protocol began with a burst of light across the solar system. Human ships appeared from hidden bases. They attacked hegemony monitoring stations at the same time. For 6 crucial minutes, Earth's communications were free from alien control. Commander Alex Hartwell led the attack on the Jupiter outpost. His ship, the EDS Valor, fired the new weapons designed by Dr. Franklin. The alien shields flickered and failed. "All teams, move in now," Hartwell ordered. Soldiers in spacesuits boarded the station. They fought through corridors against hegemony guards. In the control room, they found what they needed: navigation data for the entire hegemony fleet. They also found prisoners. Human and alien scientists were locked in cells, forced to work for the hegemony. Among them was Dr. Diana Cooper, who was thought to be dead for over a year. "They wanted me to build weapons," she told Hartwell as they escaped. "Weapons to use against our own people." On Mars, the situation turned violent. Governor Patricia Dawson stood on the steps of the colony's main dome. Beside her were colony leaders and representatives from the mining communities. Mars will no longer provide resources for the hegemony, she announced. From this day forward, we are independent. The response came quickly. The hegemony flagship, Eternal Dominion, moved into position above Olympus Mons, the largest settlement on Mars. Without warning, it fired energy weapons at the dome. The settlement exploded. Thousands of people died in seconds. The hegemony broadcast the destruction to Earth as a warning. This is the price of rebellion, the hegemony supreme commander said. Submit or be destroyed. Instead, the broadcast united humanity. People who had been afraid to resist now joined the fight. Admiral Reeves appeared on all channels with her response. Today, the hegemony has shown its true face, she said. They are not our protectors. They are our oppressors. And today, humanity declares war. As she spoke, Earth's hidden fleet emerged from behind the moon. Hundreds of ships modified with stolen technology. They weren't as large as hegemony vessels, but they had surprise on their side. The first major battle took place near Saturn. Captain Russell and the Dauntless led the attack. The plan looked suicidal, charging directly at a hegemony battle group. All ships maintain formation. Russell ordered as enemy fire began to hit them. Hold until my mark. The hegemony commanders were confused. Human ships should have been destroyed immediately. But Dr. Franklin's shield modifications worked. They absorbed enough damage to get close. Now, Russell shouted. The Earth ships fired their weapons at the exact frequency to penetrate hegemony shields. For the first time in the war, a hegemony warship exploded. The battle lasted for hours. Earth lost 17 ships, but the hegemony lost 5. It was a small victory, but an important one. It proved the aliens could be beaten. News of the battle spread quickly. Dr. Noah Collins, who had been monitoring hegemony communications, brought an urgent message to Admiral Reeves. They've designated humans as a Category 1 threat, he said. According to their records, no species has received this classification in over 10,000 years. Reeves looked out at the stars through the window of her command center. What does that mean exactly? She asked. It means they're calling in their entire fleet, Collins replied. Every ship they have will be coming to Earth. Captain Russell received the news while repairing the Dauntless after the battle. His crew was tired but proud of what they had accomplished. How many ships? He asked. Thousands, came the reply. They'll be here in 3 months. Russell nodded slowly. They had won their first battle, but the real war was just beginning. Admiral Reeves looked at the holographic map of the solar system. Red dots showed the approaching hegemony fleet. There were too many to count. 3 months, she said. That's all the time we have. The War Council met in an underground base beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Captain Russell, Commander Hartwell, and other military leaders sat around the table with scientists and representatives from the Stellar Accord. We need allies, Reeves said. Captain Russell, I'm sending you and the Dauntless on a diplomatic mission. Find other species who will fight with us. Russell nodded. The Nix-Terri have already agreed to help, but they are few in number. Dr. Noah Collins had been studying texts from a destroyed hegemony ship. He looked up from his tablet. I found something interesting. References to a species called the Precursors. They challenged the hegemony long ago, then disappeared. Myths won't help us now, said Commander Hartwell. Maybe, maybe not, Collins replied. But several references mention a weapon they used against the hegemony, something that might still exist. While preparations continued on Earth, the Dauntless visited planets on the edge of hegemony control. Many species refused to meet with them, afraid of punishment. Others listened, but wouldn't commit to help. On the 4th planet they visited, they met the Corvin, a species of warriors with thick armor-like skin. We remember when our world was free, said Corvin Chief Marak. We will send ships to fight with you. 2 more species joined, the Ilari, who were masters of technology, and the Zenthi, who could communicate across vast distances with their minds. But even with these new allies, humanity remained outnumbered. The Dauntless continued its search. Based on clues from both Collins' research and information from their new allies, they traveled to an uncharted region of space. Sensors detect a small planet, reported Dr. Reed. No signs of technology or life, but there's something strange about its energy readings. They landed on a world of blue grass and purple skies. In a valley, they found a structure half buried in the ground. It was made of a metal they had never seen before. Inside, automated systems still functioned after what must have been thousands of years. The facility contained no weapons, but something perhaps more valuable: a genetic repository with DNA samples from thousands of species. Some of these are species the hegemony claimed to have wiped out completely, said Dr. Reed. This is proof of their genocide. They also found a star map with coordinates to a place called Sanctuary. According to the records, it was home to descendants of the precursors. On Earth, work continued at a frantic pace. Major Hayes and Captain Sullivan trained soldiers day and night. Dr. Franklin improved his shield technology. Kelly Martinez and Vexilor built faster and more powerful engines for the human fleet. Dr. Samantha Reed worked with other scientists to create a new propulsion system. If this works, she told Martinez, our ships could jump across the solar system in seconds. They tested the prototype in the asteroid belt. It worked, but the energy spike attracted hegemony attention. They had to move their research base 3 times in 2 weeks to avoid detection. Then disaster struck. A hegemony attack force hit the lunar colonies without warning. The defensive systems failed. Thousands died before reinforcements could arrive. Admiral Reeves watched grimly as reports came in. The colonies were destroyed. The moon was now under hegemony control, a staging area for their coming invasion of Earth. All remaining ships, fall back to Earth, she ordered. This will be our final stand. As the Dauntless raced back, with its precious information about Sanctuary, Earth prepared for what might be humanity's last battle. The hegemony armada was only weeks away, and hope was fading fast. 2 weeks remained before the hegemony armada would reach Earth. The combined human-alien resistance fleet had just over 200 ships. The enemy had 3,000. Admiral Reeves stood before the leaders of Earth's nations. I won't lie to you. Our chances are slim. But we will fight until the end. Captain Russell returned from Sanctuary with surprising news. The precursors hadn't disappeared. They had evolved beyond physical bodies. They left behind guardians with advanced technology that they would only share with worthy species. Worthy how? Asked Admiral Reeves. Species who stand against tyranny, Russell explained. Who fight for freedom, not just for themselves but for others. Dr. Diana Cooper and Dr. William Franklin worked day and night on their last hope, Project Thunderbolt. It was a weapon designed to attack the hegemony's communication network. Their ships are linked by quantum communications, Dr. Cooper explained to the War Council. If we can disrupt that network, they won't be able to coordinate their attack. The problem, added Dr. Franklin, is that someone has to deliver the device directly to their command ship. The room went silent. Everyone understood what that meant. A suicide mission. I'll do it, said Captain Russell. Admiral Reeves shook her head. You're too valuable, John. With respect, Admiral, I know their ships better than anyone. I led the team that captured their designs. After much debate, a strike team was formed. Captain Russell would lead, with Captain Grace Sullivan, Kelly Martinez, and Vexilor from the Stellar Accord. We'll pose as a maintenance crew, Russell told his team. The hegemony uses automated drones for repairs. We have the schematics to build fake ones. As the team prepared, the first hegemony scouts entered the solar system. Earth's defenses were ready. Governor Dawson, who had survived the attack on Mars, led a resistance force that captured several hegemony supply ships. Major Hayes commanded ground forces that targeted hegemony landing parties. The day of the final battle arrived. The hegemony command ship entered Earth orbit, surrounded by thousands of warships. "All units engage according to plan," ordered Admiral Reeves from her flagship. "Remember what we're fighting for." The space battle began. Earth ships used Dr. Reed's new jump drives to appear and disappear across the battlefield, confusing the enemy. But the hegemony's superior numbers were overwhelming. One by one, human ships were destroyed. Meanwhile, the strike team approached the hegemony command ship disguised as repair drones. They passed through the shields unchallenged. "We're in," Russell whispered into his communicator. They moved through the massive ship, avoiding patrols. When necessary, they used silent weapons developed by the Ilari to eliminate hegemony guards. Finally, they reached the central communication hub. "Plant the device," Russell ordered. "We have 5 minutes to get clear." But as Kelly Martinez placed Thunderbolt on the main console, alarms blared. "We've been detected," shouted Vexlor. Hegemony enforcers poured into the room. The team fought bravely, but they were outnumbered. Martinez was hit by an energy blast that tore through her suit. Vexlor pulled her to safety behind a console. "Go," the alien told Russell and Sullivan. "I will hold them off. Make this count." As Vexlor charged the enforcers, Russell and Sullivan made a final attempt to activate the device. More hegemony troops surrounded them. "No time to escape," Russell said grimly. "Activate it now." Sullivan nodded and pressed the sequence. The device began to pulse with energy. The last thing Russell saw before the world went white was the surprised faces of the hegemony enforcers. Across the solar system, every hegemony ship suddenly lost power. For precious minutes, the invincible armada hung disabled in space. Earth's forces destroyed as many as they could, but they were too few to make a decisive difference. As communications was restored, the hegemony supreme commander gave a single order: destroy them all. Earth's defenses were failing. The hegemony fleet had recovered from Thunderbolt's effects and now pressed their attack with renewed fury. Admiral Reeves watched from her command center as one human ship after another was destroyed. "We can't hold them much longer," reported Commander Hartwell. His face was streaked with blood from a head wound. Then a message appeared on all communication channels. It came from the hegemony command ship. "This is Captain John Russell of Earth," said a voice everyone thought was lost. "I have taken control of the command ship's systems." Somehow, Russell had survived. During the confusion caused by Thunderbolt, he had managed to access the ship's central computer. Using command codes stolen during previous raids, he forced a temporary ceasefire. "All hegemony vessels will power down weapons, or I will initiate this ship's self-destruct sequence," Russell announced. For a moment, it seemed to work. The attack paused. But the Supreme Commander was already working to override Russell's control. Then new ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They were unlike anything seen before, vessels of light that moved without engines. The sensors couldn't determine their size or composition. "Unknown fleet approaching," reported Dr. Reed. Thousands of ships. A transmission reached Earth from the lead vessel. A being made of pure energy appeared on the screens. "We are the guardians of sanctuary," it said. "We have watched humanity struggle against tyranny. Your courage has proven you worthy of assistance." The being identified itself as the emissary. It explained that the precursors had been monitoring humanity for centuries. They saw in humans the potential to break the hegemony's control over the galaxy. With the Guardian's intervention and Russell's control of the command ship, the hegemony supreme commander was trapped. For the first time in thousands of years, the mighty hegemony was forced to negotiate. The peace conference took place aboard a neutral Guardian vessel. Admiral Reeves and Dr. Collins represented Earth. Various resistance species attended virtually. The hegemony supreme commander came in person, filled with anger but powerless to resist. "The Galatian hegemony as you know it is dissolved," announced the emissary. "It will be replaced by the Galactic Concord, a true federation where all species have equal representation." Earth became a founding member of this new alliance. Humans were recognized for their role in overthrowing the hegemony's oppression. 1 year later, a ceremony was held to remember those lost in what people now call the Liberation War. Captain Russell, promoted to admiral, stood with the survivors of his strike team. Kelly Martinez had recovered from her injuries and become Earth's ambassador to the Concorde. The alien Vex Lore had also survived, though badly wounded. Major Hayes now led the new Concorde Defense Force, training crews from many different species. Dr. Samantha Reed and Dr. William Franklin headed a scientific program that shared technology across worlds that had been kept isolated by the hegemony. They tried to keep us apart because they feared what we could accomplish together, said Ambassador Martinez in her speech. Now we will build a galaxy where freedom and cooperation replace fear and control. The greatest moment came with the launch of humanity's first true exploration vessel, the EDS Unity. Captain Grace Sullivan would command its multi-species crew on a mission of peaceful discovery. As the ship departed Earth orbit, Admiral Russell watched from the space station. "We won because we refused to accept defeat," he told Dr. Diana Cooper, who stood beside him, "but also because we inspired others to stand with us." Dr. Cooper smiled. "So what happens next?" Russell looked out at the stars, no longer a barrier, but a highway to new worlds and allies. "We explore, we learn, we make sure nothing like the hegemony ever rises again." The Unity's engines flared bright blue as it accelerated away from Earth. Humanity had not only survived its greatest test, it had helped create a new era of freedom for countless worlds across the galaxy.